Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Ferris Makes Demos. It's episode 38. I'm calling it multi-track drifting. And I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. Instead of making some demo effect or looking at some other demo or having a guest on or whatever, we're actually doing a bit of work to prepare our WaveSaber synth for public release. And as part of that, we've decided to do a music disc, which will be able to play a bunch of the tunes that we've made with the synth, as well as some new ones that haven't been released yet. And this is kind of a big project. I'm not going to talk about when we plan to actually release stuff, but we actually do have something planned, so I'm hopefully announcing some of that as it gets closer. But in any case, in the meantime, we have to make some kind of program that will actually play multiple songs with our synth, which is something that a use case I haven't actually explored before. Now, I have a rough idea of how I want to do this. So I'm going to go over how basically how the synth is linked into our demos currently. And then I think what I'm going to do is expose something similar, basically a simple C API from the synth to a, bit of Rust code that will actually implement the logic of fading things out and switching songs. And hopefully we'll get pretty far with that. Today's probably not going to be the longest stream, maybe an hour and a half. So we'll just see how far we get within that time frame. But in any case, I guess we can just dive in. So the idea is the synth is its own set of C++ projects. I believe I've shown this on a previous stream. I can point you guys to the, I think it was the second or first stream I did in the Ferris Makes Demo series where I talked about WaveSabre, our synth, and I go over a lot of the architecture here. But the idea is that the when you have all the player libraries and stuff that we have for the synth, what we do in the actual 64K intros currently is we have another C library that wraps that and exposes a C API. So if I can zoom in on this, if I remember how to do that in Visual Studio, which I don't. Someone in chat must know how to do this. Start yelling at me. No. Anyway, I'll just keep going. Oh, wait. Here we go. Never mind. That'll work. All right. So the idea is that this links in the player library and just exports a super basic C API, right? So there's, in fact, here. We have just a bool definition because it's a C API, and then this simple C type. There's a progress callback, and then we can create this thing with which will create this simple replayer and destroy it as well, and then tell it to play. There's also a progress callback, the data that will actually be the song, I believe, and then whether or not it will pre-render. And then you can get some things about the song as it's after you've created it. So it ends up being pretty basic, this replayer that we have in the intros, because this is all we have to do. We basically just have to create the player and play the song and then destroy it when we're done. However, because this is going to be for a music disc, the way that I think I'm going to do it is, because as you can see here, when this is actually used, when you create this, I believe, in fact, it even looks like, maybe I'm wrong about this, about the data here. No, that does come from there. Let me see what this looks like on the Rust side. It's been a long time since I looked at this code, but I expected that this would be like this. It should be here. And I believe, no, I think I have WaveSabre here. And the data here. So simple C create. Where's your pointer? Oh, this is the data for the progress callback. That's what that is. That makes sense. So we don't really have to worry about that. If I'm reading that correctly. Yeah, that's definitely what it is. This is user data for the progress callback. So that's not even the song. So this will actually create, yeah, you can see here, it includes the song.h, which is output from the converter in the synth. Just a big old binary blob and the song device factory that we use here, which is just going to instantiate all the different kinds of devices that are actually used in the song, given an ID that's used here in the blob. But anyway, since we need this to be able to play multiple songs, we're going to have to make a slightly more complicated replayer here. I'm not entirely sure how the architecture that's going to look yet, but I think it should be relatively straightforward to actually make this work. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm just going to start working on the Rust end of things and just try to make I don't know, maybe even like a command line based kind of tool here to just test that this replayer will actually work the way I want it to. Eventually, I want to hook this up to the actual music disc, which is going to include an interactive menu and a GUI and everything, as well as a visual effect that will react to the music. But before I actually get to that, we need to lay some groundwork. So, let's see. Yeah, we'll start with the Rust stuff. I think I can just do this in the WaveSaber. I actually don't want to, now I think about it. So let's do cargo, new, bin, music disk. That'll be enough for me to start with this stuff. Now I'm gonna do. Okay, yeah, my default is x86-64. We actually don't want to use that. Oh no, here we go. No, our active toolchain is the nightly i686 PC host. That is what we want. So if I just run this, we get hello world. And I think the first thing I'm going to do actually is have it include the same player lib and just play that just like we would in the actual intro. I don't remember exactly how the linking process for that goes, which is why I kind of want to do it this way. In fact, I think I even have some experimental stuff, which I don't mind using for this project because I don't think I'm going to open source this music disk when all is said and done. Yeah, so I have a lib path here thing, for in this link args thing. Yeah, so this is a nightly feature, which is fine. So I'm just going to do this more minimally in this new setup. Let me pull this into my stuff here. By the way, hi guys in the chat. I forgot to say that. Desi used Metal Voids, SK Thess, G Superland. By the way, G Superland, how was Outline? I didn't realize that was this weekend, as well as Cube Party, I think, also happened this weekend. Bloop. Rearrange a bit here. Hide some of that. Outline is one of those parties I would really like to make it to at some point. First ever Shader Showdown. Does that mean you participated in one? Because if so, congrats. I'm well aware of how difficult that is. Do this. So the reason why we want to do this link args thing, the idea is that you specify extra arguments directly to the linker. And because we know we're using the MSVC linker here, it's fine to just do it in this format that linker expects directly. And then we want to mark this thing with unused attributes, because basically this has to be an attribute here that attaches to something. Because we just use this little extern block here, nothing is actually going to happen with this, which means this would get stripped, even though the link args will still be picked up. And then we'll get a warning that this is an unused attribute on here, so we want to do allow unused attribute for this item as well. But most of the stuff we actually don't need here. A lot of this I think we'll get for free. Some of this I don't care about in this particular context. Some of this we're going to need to pack. But most of this... Actually, some of this we also need for the synth itself. So maybe more of that than I realized. I think that should be good enough. We'll have to move some things around and see. Ah, first of the party. That's cool. Well, then congrats to them. So just running that really quick here. Unrecognized option. NatVis C. I wonder what that's about. And it can't open this MSVCRT old thing. That I'll copy over. Might be that actually solves the other problems. I figured this stream would be a little bit kind of haphazard just because I hadn't touched this kind of code for a while. But at the same time, it's like I'm going to do this work anyway, and why not just do it on the stream so you guys can see what it looks like when I'm doing this stuff, even though I'm going to be hitting a lot of bumpers, as it were. Where were we? Demotivation, rivet. And I'm going to take this thing here. So I'm literally just pulling extra stuff into here. I think that goes here. Whoops. Like that. Bloop. Yeah, so that actually solves all these linker issues. None of this code is actually being used for these linker args yet, but at least it builds. So doing this one step at a time is definitely a good idea. I'm actually just going to copy this WaveSabre code currently and get it to work with the existing player lib, and then I'll fork that out and make something else. This should be relatively basic. I'm just going to WaveSabre.rs. And yeah, this links WaveSabre clib, kind of static in this case. So that should handle all of that. I'm just going to do this as well, and that should be okay. We need to actually make sure this module is existing. So we'll do that here in main. Thanks, Tessa used. Use tiny common. Okay, yeah, so there's a bunch of these tiny libs as well that that I'm not using that we need to pull in as well that are used in here. First of all, we want core. And I believe we get that. I thought we got that from here. But I don't think so now that I am thinking about it. In any case, we will need to import a couple of these, like tiny common, tiny win32, I believe. Here we need tiny common. Actually, that's probably it. So we're going to need to pull that into our music disk thing as well. And we also need to make sure this is linked, or this links to that particular library. So I'm just going to do, what was it in here? Not too worried about some of this stuff because we don't really care that much about making this music disk small. Maybe I'll do some more of this work later, but for now, not terribly important. This is kind of the older syntax, I believe. I think we can do this. Or actually, I'll just do it this way because I know it'll work anyway. And this path is going to be wrong, I think, because we need to do this demotivation, and then that should be tiny common, I think. And then I don't know where core is coming from here in this other code. Here we just have core here. So let me just Google this really quick. Rust core. So core, the idea behind core is that it's basically an alternate subset of the standard library. So if you just go to this link here. The Rust core library is a dependency-free foundation of the Rust standard library. It is the portable glue between the language and its libraries, defining the intrinsic and primitive building blocks of all Rust code. It links to no upstream libraries, no system libraries, and no libc. So the idea is that this is minimal, and we can it doesn't even do heap allocs or anything, so we can use this to get basic pointer stuff from the standard library and not have to worry about that. However, linking to this is what I don't remember how to do. So again, if we look at our other code, is there anything here? I don't think so. Again, we don't need these currently. Again, I'll just go in main here. Now, I don't think we need to do no std to get core linked. Rust link core. Let's Google that. I think actually we do extern crate core. Maybe that's fine. I just didn't see it here, so that's a bit weird. Maybe it's somewhere else in this code, which I would not put it past myself to have that. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and try that. Extern crate core. Okay, so now we have additional failing linking stuff, but that's because it can't find WaveSaber CLib. So that's actually interesting. Because here this will be demotivation, I think is the path there, and that should link. Rad. So that looks like it works so far. And then I want to make this actually play the music. So let's see. Again, just going back to the other player code. Looks like I just import everything from there. Oops. And I think if I look at this WaveSaber thing here, we have the player. So that's actually what I want to look for here. Yeah, there's reference there. And here's our little progress thing. I don't know if the progress is actually even used when we're not doing pre-render. But in any case, I think we can do something like this. Like that. And I'm actually going to just do a loop here just to make it work first. Then we can worry about this later. And I really don't think we actually need this. So let's just have an empty function here for the progress thing. And then the pre-render music, we're going to do false. And I think if I do this, then that might just work. And it didn't. Imp get foreground window even. I wonder why it needs that. So I guess something we're missing that we're not linking here. So I wonder if I need to explicitly link something here that I probably removed from this other one. Can also do no default lib here, even though I don't think we need it in this case. Okay, now we even got a bunch of this unresolved external symbol stuff. I wonder why we don't get that in the other one. Might be, it should be picking up this MSVC RT linking as well. And it's changing the subsystem shouldn't matter either. But just to eliminate some variables here, we can try this. But yeah, that's what I thought. These are all Win32 functions. So I don't know if maybe this just isn't linking that. So I think in the replayer, we link this tiny Win32 crate, and that, I believe, is going to at least link some of these functions in here from like kernel 32 and user 32. And it's very likely that because, like, I think this solves the linkage for that in the replayer, but because we're not using any of this, we might need to manually add linkage for those libraries. That would make the most sense to me, I think. So if we do kernel32.lib here and just see if any of these go away, and it looks like they do. And then I think, for example, get foreground window is probably in user32.lib. Then that links. And I hear no music. So let's see if I just hooked this up wrong, because that's, I think, the most likely scenario here. Because I make the player and then I don't do anything with it. And in this case, okay, so it actually has a play function, so I'll probably need to do that. So if we do this, whoops, not full screen. Player and then player.play should do what we need it to do. Nope, because this needs to be mutable. Hey, Chief Detector. Now it's playing the iota track, although I have my sound muted so you guys can't hear it. But this is actually really cool. So that was relatively easy to get up and running. Pretty happy about that. And yes, this music disc is going to be Windows only, because I don't care. Also, there's still some parts of the synth that are Windows only currently, so that's what we got. Anyway, this is actually really good progress already, just getting this set up. I didn't expect that to go that fast. Of course, we're still only linking this particular C library, and we would like to link a different one for this, because we want to do, we want to be able to have multiple songs here and be able to start and stop those. I think what I would like to do is actually have all of the audio rendering done sort of controlled from Rust. So we'll do, fade ins, fade outs, all that stuff. Although it might be easiest to do that in C++. I'm not entirely sure how I want to do that yet. So I'll have to think about that. But the first thing I'm going to do is just fork this C library that wrapper that I have around the synth, and go from there. So I'm literally just going to copy that out from this other stuff. So in here, WaveSabre CLib, I'm just going to copy that out to this other stuff. Music disk, where'd you go? This music disk, I know it's going to be like a one-off. So in terms of project cleanliness, I'm kind of letting that take a backseat because it just really doesn't matter in this case. And yes, I'm using Visual Studio 2013 for all of this stuff. Now, I think if I just try to build this, it won't have the correct paths for WaveSabre. Oh, it actually did. Never mind then. That's great. And then in this case, I want to change this path here. I think that's what we want. Oops. Like that. That should be okay. Just to be sure, I'm going to change some other stuff here. Make sure it actually links that again. And last thing I'm going to do is actually break this intentionally, just to make sure that that's working, pointing to the right thing. And it looks like it is. So pretty pleased with that, at least. Let's see. I don't really care about changing the name of this library, but we are going to want to change, of course, the API that we actually expose to Rust. So again, what's happening here is we have this C API that wraps up some C++ code that sets up existing code in WaveSabre to actually play a song. And this C code is linked into Rust, and then this WaveSabre module, you can see this is the linkage here, which is just mirroring all these C functions here and linking to this library statically. This wraps that in a player object, which has, new play and all that stuff, and it's just literally calling those C functions. So we can basically have any interface that we want here, so long that this actually does what we need it to do in terms of playing multiple songs and whatnot. Now, I actually suspect it may not play that nicely depending on how well I've written the WaveSabre code, which I may run into some things that I have to fix here, but we'll have to see. It might make sense that I'll expose, instead of just creating one player here, I remove this pre-render stuff, and then the C API exposes a way to create a new player with a song ID, so it can kind of render multiple things on different threads. I think that would probably make the most sense, because then we can get crossfading and some other stuff. That might be nice. Maybe I'm wrong about that, actually. In fact, yeah, I got to think about this for a second. I'm actually thinking that probably the easiest thing to do here is actually fork out the RealTime Player stuff that I have in WaveSabre and have this be able to play, pick different song IDs, and then it'll fade out the current one and then go to the next one, I think is what I want to do. It's a little state machine to do that. That's probably the easiest, because then we won't be doing any super complex crossfading or multi-threading or anything. It'll just have one render thread, and then whatever else. That's probably the simplest. We do need to make different song renderers for this stuff. And that way we probably won't leak any player stuff either, because we'll just have the one thread running the whole time, the one rendering thread. So that's probably the easiest way to do this when I sort of start to consider all of this. Cheat Detector said, did you guys already check out the new 1.26 Rust release? I checked out some of the stuff that was on the changelog, and I was pretty excited about it, but I haven't actually updated Rust and tried any of that out yet. But I think with the one of the things I was most excited about is I believe Infiltrate became stable. So that's really exciting, and a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys haven't checked that out, I will second that you should, because that looked like it was pretty cool stuff. In any case, I definitely want to change this API here. So I think what I'll do, we'll get rid of all this pre-render stuff here, and we'll use this create and destroy thing. And I think we'll keep that play thing there. We don't really care about getting any of this, actually, except perhaps the song position, which we don't really need. We will actually want this, though, I think, because we're going to want the length of the current song and then the position of the current song in order to change to the next song. So I think we'll want that. Sample rate and tempo we can probably get rid of. And then the last thing I want to do is set song, and then we can just do a int index. And I'll just prefix this like the other ones. I think this makes sense. And then we can start actually implementing this in some capacity. Hopefully that's not too small for you guys. Yeah. So if we just start changing things without making, like I'll do this in baby steps here. So we'll do, the player is a new RealTime Player. It'll just play the one song first. Get to all the other stuff. We can remove the sample rate and tempo stuff. Don't care about that. Play, and then we'll do extern C void simple C set song index int index. Big old to do on that. I should be able to rebuild this then, and that should work. And I think this will fail to link if I get this to rebuild. Maybe it won't, because we need to get rid of some of this stuff, all of that. We'll change the top level code to match that now as well. Like in this case, we don't need any parameters here, and don't need this type parameter here now either, or any of this progress stuff. We don't need any of this closure stuff now. So we'll just do that one unsafe call, and that should basically be it. And then we need to make sure that the signatures up here actually match what we expect. That's easy. Get rid of these other two. And I think that's basically it, except setting the index. Whoops, I accidentally removed this one from here, which is the wrong file. But this should be fine. So now we'll do simple C set song index, which comes after play. And CT. And then, yeah, let's actually do that too. I think we messed up on the signature here because we want the player first, always as an argument, and then the whatever other data we need. Do that, and then we'll do the index, and we'll make that an I32. This doesn't need to be signed, though, so let's actually just do... Actually, can I just do a U? We have C int types here, so let's actually make this a U int 32T. And we'll do that here. And then this will be a U32. That feels a bit better. And this we'll just do here, set song index mute self, and then the index is u32, and we'll just do the unsafe call. And I think this should just work if I build it now. And it seems to. Of course, setting this song index and everything doesn't actually do anything yet, but at least we're getting the API that we want. So this is actually going surprisingly quickly. I'm actually think I'm going to add this to Git already and just make my own little repo for this. Again, I'm not doing this code publicly other than streaming this now, but you know. And I also don't want to put it in our WaveSaber repo because reasons. Okay, we need to do some stuff here to ignore a bunch of these files, which I think I have already in git ignore here. Yep. All this crap. So let's do that again. I'll do arm cached, and then we'll do edit git ignore here. That's much better looking. Mary Sieniak? No idea if I'm reading that correctly, but how's it going? Move AX13H. How's it going? Whoops, git remote add origin this URL, git post dash origin master. Hey, Soda Design. So that's pretty sick. So now, hey, Zokwar. Now let's actually try and getting multiple songs in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open the WaveSaber repo because this is how we end up running the converter right now, as it's just the most convenient way to do that. There's this project called Convert the Fuck, which is just our own little front end for this. And what we typically do is just come in here in the debug settings here and output to some kind of song.h. What I'm actually going to do as well is in this WaveSaber CLib project that we have here, I'm going to rename this to, instead of song.h, this will be iota.h. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then I think we'll do iota here. Well, we do actually want to fan this out differently so that we can get different players. Or I'll probably have to fork this RealTime Player too, but that should be fine. Let's see. Yeah, we need to get another one of those song headers. So what we're going to do is move some stuff here. I think this is the folder I want the output to be into. So we'll do that. And I don't know which song I'm going to do yet. So let's go ahead and pick one from our collab folder. I'm not going to show what that is, but bear with me here. By the way, it is hot in Oslo lately, and all my windows are closed when I stream, so this is one of the reasons I'm doing short streams, because I'm getting shiny. Let's see. We should have a music disc folder here. Some final projects. Let's do Rubik, which is our soundtrack for the collaboration we did with Fairlight at Nova last year. Soundproof Motion, it was called. So if I do that and then I run this project, I think, yeah, we need an option as well. So I think it's -H that we do for that now. And project file not found. That's not good. So this should be, let's see. Input file option output. So I just did the arguments in the wrong order. Do H there. We recently added those, so I didn't remember them. And this just worked because it didn't have any output. So that should be good. Escape the SD drive sounds like a dirty movie title. I suppose. Hey, Zakor. I don't know if I said that already. Getting a little scatterbrained here. In any case, that should have given us song.h here. So I think we need to add that existing item here, and we should have song.h. And then I'm just going to rename this to Rubik. Whoops, cancel, rename. Now, because this exports a header and it hard codes stuff like the song factory, song renderer and stuff, and all that goodness. Oh, did this change or something? This should exist. That's a bit odd. Probably because it's not being included anywhere or something. Who knows? But what I'm thinking is that I actually want to fan out a couple other modules here that will include those and then export them under different names so that we'd be able to get to those easier. I think the way we do this is pretty simple, but what I'm worried about is including these and then having our global names fucked up. Probably should have marked these as static. That probably would have made the most sense. Because then I could include these normally without worrying about that. I'm actually going to just massage this how I need it, and then we can actually change update the WaveSaber exporter or whatever. Or not, actually, because I could also just update them here, and that's not too bad. Yana Moran, thanks for the follow. If I read that correctly. Let's do it this way. I'm actually just going to by hand prefix these because it really doesn't matter. And then I can just include all of them. It's not like I'm going to re-export these very often when I put together the music disk. This iota one I definitely won't. And it's just not much work to do this by hand. So if we go into clib here, this should be iota song. We can also include Rubik. So now if I run this, might have to change some of the Rust code to get it to link differently, or to get it to link again, which it looks like I did. That should run iota again, and it looks like it does, which means that seemed to work. So I'm going to go back here and change this to Rubik song, and that should, and I need to rebuild this, which I don't think I did a second ago, but anyway, run this and now I should get the Rubik song, which I do. So that's really good. I'm going to do one more test where I change this back just to make sure that I got that right the first time. And then things should be working well enough. And then I can move on. This is going a lot faster than I expected, by the way, so I'm pretty happy about that. Hey, Love Like Semtex. Cool, so let's do this. Add all that. Hey, Norm. Long time no see. All right. So I think the more interesting stuff is going to happen soon. Okay, so actually I even have this as a void pointer and just cast it to a player. That's kind of funny. So we'll have to make our own struct for that, but that should be easy. That'll be okay. And I think I'm going to end up forking this real-time player because I believe this real-time player that's built into WaveSaber makes some assumptions about the song and some other things. And we need to be able to swap out which song is actually active. And expand on this render callback here. Now I think this is in the player lib. We should have the player stuff here. Yeah, the real-time player. Of course extends iPlayer, which I believe is just a interface kind of thing. So that should be basically nothing. Cool. That's cool, Norm. No worries. Also don't know what happened there, but that's fine. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm just going to fork this. I'm pretty sure the WaveSaber player lib just exports a lot of this stuff. So that'll be fine. So what I'm going to do, just make my own class here. Making C++ classes is not something I do very often anymore, but this should be easy enough. Multi-track drifting player. So here, looks like I do double underscores here by convention, although I don't think I should. And I think I'm going to actually just fork this directly. We will need, I'm going to do this. And just copy this. Don't need it to be in any namespace. Oh yeah, this stuff is going to be player lib, like that, I think. Zibble, thanks for the follow. Now, I usually like to prefix these in headers. I don't like to... whoops. What did I do here? Did I... Yeah, I did that wrong. There we go. I don't like to use using is it statements or declarations? What is going wrong with the pasting here? Sums up. Oh, I think there's some autocorrect going on here. That's annoying. Very annoying. Anyway, let's do it this way. I like to use using statements in the implementation files, but not in the header, because you don't want to sort of pollute the global namespace or whatever's in the global namespace, if that's even the right way to say that. Do that, and then we'll do this one as well. And I also don't think I renamed this, but we'll do this first. And with this stuff, I want to do using WaveSabre player lib. Using namespace, isn't it? There we go. That should resolve all of that. Song render, why didn't like that? Inaccessible here. That's a bit odd, isn't it? Oh yeah, because this is not the right cast. That should do it. So now I'm just going to make the top level code here use this. In fact, probably don't even need that. Constructor frame player here. Okay, so we actually do want the player lib there. Come on, come on. There we go. And I think then instead of real-time player here, we'll do multi-track drifting player. This name is going to pervade the entire project. I should be able to build that, and that should work. Looking good so far. Oops. Seems to work. Now we can do fork. Player from real-time player. I get a bit pedantic with actually committing stuff, but the main thing is that I need to be able to... It makes me feel better if I'm doing baby steps like this and committing as I go along. So I end up being more productive when I do that. So how might this thing actually work? I need to actually dig into what this code does again. So let's see. Yeah, so I have a direct sound render thread, which is actually going to, I think, call this callback whenever it needs samples. And then we have the player data here. Okay, so that should be relatively easy to work with. And in this case, we just use the song render and call render samples on that. That should be fine. Of course, this is... let's see. Doesn't look like we're doing anything to handle the multi-threading stuff here, but I think that's okay in just looking at how we use this. Also, we don't need to get tempo or sample rate functions, so we can just remove those, get them out of the way. And yeah, we also store the start time and then the render. So the thing with this player is that we're going to end up swapping out the song renderer. That's kind of the main thing that we're doing here. Now I'm pretty sure if we delete the render thread, if I remember this correctly, just looking at the code here, the destructor for this, there might be some nasties in here. But the destructor for this actually enters a critical section, sets shutdown to true, so we're going to do sort of a clean exit of the actual rendering thread, and then wait for that to happen and then delete the critical section. That is what we want to see here. Because that means that what we can do is in order to know that we're not stepping on the rendering thread's toes, we can actually just kill the render thread whenever we're going to change songs, which I think would be a decent way to do this. I think what I want to do first is get it to just switch songs, even if there's like a pop or something, like if it just kills the rendering thread and starts it again with a different song. I think that's okay. In fact, what I want to do first, when I think about it, is just see what happens when we call player play multiple times. So I think I'll just do this and then sleep and then call it again. So this will just be some test crap. So I think rust sleep std thread, and then we need to a duration from that. So this should be use std thread, and we can do thread sleep, and we can do duration from millis. And I'm actually going to make this like 3 seconds just to make sure that that's going to happen. I'll do this a couple times. And then I need to do also, we need duration here, which is an std time. Oops. Cool. So I know you guys can't hear this, but as expected, every 3 seconds it just shuts down the rendering thread and then starts playing the song again. It doesn't actually change which song is playing, but this is actually great because this means that the way that the threading stuff actually works is the way I expected. So what I hope to do from this is perhaps have it fade out the song and then start playing the other one. We actually don't need that. So like as a minimum viable product, this is probably actually good enough if we do this. In fact, to do that, instead of having a separate entry point in the API to change the song index, it probably makes sense to give play the index and start with that. So I'm actually going to move this around to make it do that because I think it's easier to get that up and running as sort of an intermediate goal than do the crossfading that I actually had in mind originally, which I don't think we actually need. Yeah, move AX13H. I don't have audio playing for you guys because I'm listening to some music while I'm doing this, so you guys won't hear it, but I'm just explaining to you what's actually happening here. Right, so this actually is broken here. So we're going to do like 0 here, 1, and then we'll just go back to the first one again. And just for good measure, do this. That'll be our 2 songs. And then we'll head back over to this and change this API here. So instead of SetSong index, we'll just do uint32t index there. And then here we'll do the same thing. Move that parameter up there. Do that. Now the cool thing is, oh, wait a minute. Oh, hey, wait. I actually don't think I was supposed to get rid of this get tempo and get sample rate. Probably because they're part of this iPlayer interface, which I don't think I actually need to satisfy when I think about it. That was only to have that kind of abstraction exist somewhere, but I can just remove that and it should be fine. We'll just not cast it to an iPlayer. Just do multi-track drifting player here. And that should be fine enough. So let's go ahead and change all those. And then, yeah, so play in this case is now going to take an index. And I think what I'm going to do is pass in several references to this. So play, this is going to take a unsigned int index. It's going really fast, you guys. Pretty happy about this. Yeah, the song here is going to change. I think this has a constant song here. Does it use it for anything other than this? I don't think it does. So we're going to make a song array here. Have that work out. Yeah, it looks like this is a pointer of these as well. So let's just do... We can just make this a pointer. And that would be fine. And then we can do index here. And then that'll be this. And match that up with the definition here, or declaration here. Yeah, and the song renderer itself also needs to be swapped out at that point. That should be okay. Let's just do it this way. And that will actually make this null to begin with. And then in stuff that uses this, for example, get length, we're going to do if song render is not null, otherwise we're just going to give it 0. And then I think we're okay for everything else. That looks good to me. And then at the top level stuff, how do we want to define this? I don't remember how to do this syntax here in C++, but this is basically what I want to do. And I don't think that works that way. Also, that is... Let's see. Okay, I think it's actually this even. We might need to declare this instead. Something like these array initializers. I think something like this will work. I do not write C++ anymore. And this will be songs. I think we can do that. Whoops. I think this gives us what we want. Just so that now that type is constrained here. Seems to like that more. Only one way to find out. By rebuilding this. And trying it out. And we got a seg fault. Classic. Let's see here. I'm going to remove this extra player stuff, so it's only going to play one song. And when this works, I'll probably head out. Call it a day for now. But at least this is pretty valuable here. Now, I would have expected that to be appropriate here. Would have expected this to work. But, you know. Metavoid says I'm doing a pointer to an array, which is already a double pointer. Are you sure? Because this should be an array of song pointers. And I'm passing the array, so that should be a double pointer. Right? array is pointer. So if I did something like this, that doesn't make sense. I think it might actually be this, but I don't think so because the types match up here. Then why doesn't it work is the question. Now the only thing I really did differently here is I initialized the song renderer with null pointer. And that should be okay because all the places we use that, we're either going to check that it's null. And we don't create the rendering thread until we actually start. Do we have a valid song renderer again? I think we're okay there. When we make the song renderer, we index the array here. Oh, I know what it is. I totally know what it is. This is that this array is local to this function, and we want to make this static because that was going out of scope, and then we had some bogus memory. Pretty sure that's what was going on there. All right, that appears to work now, and then I'll add back this player stuff, or this changing song stuff. And when that plays the different songs, I think we're okay. Yeah, this appears to work. Appears to work great. It's not necessarily the best song changing experience, but this totally seems to work. Cool. So I'm pretty happy with this. We got something actually able to play multiple songs and also select which song it is playing from Rust. I still want to massage this API a bit, and I would like to have some kind of like fade out for the songs as well, if that's possible. So definitely more work I'm going to do with this. Maybe I'll do some of that on stream, maybe not. I plan to do a lot of that in the coming weeks. So we'll just see what ends up on the stream and what doesn't. But in any case, I think I'm going to head out. So thank you guys for hanging out, and I will see you next time.